Welcome along to Blue Ribbon Baking. I'm really super excited today because I have my very, very good friend, Fleur Foster, joining us. And now today we are making your famous date roll. I can vouch that this is one of the greatest recipes because I get to have it fried off in butter.
See, not the conventional way of serving it, but...
Right. So where do we get started with our date roll?
So you need 2 cups of cut pitted dates.
Right, that
So
would be
dried
2 cups
dates.
there. Is there a certain way of chopping them?
I
do they-
chop them twice so that they are in 3 pieces. The year I chopped them 3 times into 4 pieces, I did get a note back from the judges that said they were chopped too finely.
But today we can be a little bit more relaxed
Not
with it.
competition baking right now, so
Okay, well, these ones have already been done, so I'll put them in there. So obviously there are a lot of stipulations that come with the baking, but what if you're really not too sure of, like you've got your little prerequisites and things that you know you can and can't
it's all
do.
outlined in the cookery list of what they allow you to enter, and there's some hints and tips there, but most of the stuff you pick up over the years, it's just going along, seeing what other people have made, and it's just working out what won the year before, why it won the year before, what the colour of it was like, what the texture of it was like. Because they cut all of the cakes for you to see, you can usually work out what you've done wrong or what you need to change. Add your 2 cups in there. Then you're going to need brown sugar. To that you're going to add a cup of water.
So a cup there. Do you get nervous entering your goods?
Oh, no, it's more frustrating trying to juggle everything to get it done because there's set times when you deliver.
Okay, we've got our dates, sugar.
And the water.
And the water.
Now you've got to add the butter.
Uh-huh.
A 60 gram of butter.
The lovely Norco creamy.
It is.
Oh, I love that colour. Oh, how much butter would you go through when you're prepping for the Ekka?
It depends on how things are going. It can be kilos of butter. The eggs, it can be dozens of eggs.
Are you buying bulk?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's the most of the date rolls you've ever made before you've found the
I think it was a dozen.
A dozen? Before you found Prince Charming?
And he was the last one.
Okay, so we just give that a bit of a
Give it a
stir
stir,
through.
and then you can take
And obviously the butter's not going to melt while it's
The butter will not
still-
melt there. It will
Okay.
melt once you get it to the stove top. You're going to melt it down until it just reaches the boil.
Okay,
And
and
I'll
the
get you
oven?
to turn the oven on to about 150 to 180, depending on your oven.
Okay, so how are we going?
Well, we've reached the boil, so we've turned it
Beautiful.
off, and now we're just going to move it.
Oh, that's thickened up beautifully.
Thickened up, sugar's dissolved, butter's melted, mixed in nicely. Just going to let it sit for a little bit just to cool down.
Okay, smells pretty good too, doesn't it? Okay, so just so that it's lukewarm?
Lukewarm to hot, not boiling, before you put the bicarb in.
Anything else we can do in the meantime?
If you want to grab your egg and crack it and give it a bit of a whisk, beat it up a little bit. No shell. You'd get marked down for shell.
No crunch. Now that takes me to, what about the date and walnut roll?
I have put walnuts in the past, but I don't think they got first place. I think they might have come second. It is a date roll.
Okay, so preferably no nuts.
No nuts for competition work. What we're going to do now is grab our 2 cups of self-raising flour. You're going to grab your bicarb. You're going to add your bicarb into this mix.
So what's that, about half teaspoon?
Half a teaspoon.
Okay.
Add that in. Now when you mix this, it should froth.
Oh, I love that. That's thickening up. So like when you add it to your bananas, when you're making banana loaf, you get that real foamy sort of.
So you've got to just make sure you've mixed that in because you don't want to get a lump of that
Oh no,
in the mix.
be a bit tart.
So now you're going to add your flour and you can pop that straight into there. Okay, mix that all in.
Oh, yum.
And then just when you've almost got it mixed in is when I add the egg. That way I can guarantee that I'm not going to cook the egg in there so it doesn't scramble and go horrible. All right, so you might want to add your egg in now. Okay, and give it a really good mix quickly so that you don't cook it.
Oh yeah, we don't want scrambled eggs and
Move it all in.
Now, Fleur, in the old days, our grandparents would have used tins that, you know, had jams and things in them, leftover ones cleaned out, of course. This is interesting. Where would you get a cylinder like that from?
Most kitchenware stores will have them. They're a proper roll tin.
Oh, both ends?
Both ends, because you've got to cook it that way.
Oh, okay.
So what you're going to do, use a bit of paper towel with the butter.
Do I need to keep mixing this, or is it?
No, leave it go now. She's right. It's all mixed in. You haven't got any flour visible
Doesn't seem to be.
because you don't want any flour.
And I know how to line a square cake tin. That looks really difficult. What's the skill here?
If you lay it down that way, you measure your baking paper across,
Right.
cut the baking paper that way, then roll the baking paper around, and then you're going to trim to make it fit.
Now, like all of the cakes being judged, there, you know, lines and seams and things are a no-no.
No lines and
Do you
seams.
overlap the paper or just have a...
Try and make it so that the seam of the tin
Yes.
is where your seam of your paper is, so that you're limiting the number of seams.
Right. And like that, push it out.
And then you've cut circular ones for the base and the top.
On there, that locks in. Okay, but I would say the next challenge is how do we get that into there without it going, ugh.
Slowly and carefully.
All right.
And you want to do it so that you don't get any air bubbles or pockets in it. So it is painstaking at times,
Okay.
and it is just dispersing it through.
And how's that consistency? Is that about right?
Oh, you might get a prize.
Do you know at this stage whether it's
No. For me, it's when it's coming out of the tin. So you've already invested 40 minutes of baking time in it as well. Usually you can get 2 tins out of a mix, but for competition work, you get 1 tin because you've got to have a flat top as well as a flat bottom.
So if I'm just cooking it at home, how far would I fill it to?
About half,
Okay.
halfway. For competition work, I go to 3/4 so that I can guarantee that it's going to come to the top, and you have to ensure that your lid is firm so that you don't have it pop the lid.
And then go all over the place. And there's no entering a roll after it's been in the oven with the ends cut off?
No,
Not at all?
not to be.
That has to be a baked end.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so from there, you've got that in. What you're going to do now is give it a good whack on the table.
And that's the air bubbles out?
So hopefully your air bubbles out. Pop the top on, and that's a tight fit, that one. There you go, top on. And then that's going to go in the oven for 40 minutes, standing upright. Depending on your oven, you may need to rotate it just for circulation, again for competition work to get the colour even, but for normal everyday, in the oven 40 minutes.
Wow. So we've just taken this one out of the tin, it's out of the oven, it's cooled down quite a bit, but you're saying that you would not enter that to be judged. Why? That looks great to me.
No, it's definitely not competition worthy. It's popped the end of the tin, so the lid's come off and that's come through. In order to go into the egg, it's got to have a flat top. So that's rejected on that part. Also because it's burnt around the edges where it's come through, and it's got seam lines showing and a little bit of seam overlap there. So
But if that seam line is on the actual tin...
you've got to work it so that you can have that paper come so that it's,
just over the edge.
That was a new tin. I
Okay.
probably won't use that.
I'm sure it still tastes good.
It will taste
All right.
fine. There will be no walnuts in it though because it's competition.
All right, but we can still cut it.
You can cut it.
Okay. Okay, so we give it a cut. Now, you know I like it with just a little bit of butter. Troy likes it fried in a bit of butter with some ice cream.
We also do it with custard.
Oh,
Heated with a little bit of custard.
Well, this has been fun, Fleur. Yes. Okay, feel free to come and use my kitchen anytime when you're preparing for the Ekka. And we hope we've inspired you to make your very own award-winning date roll. Just don't make it too good, hey Fleur?
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's yummy.